Rare Gem Productions proudly presents Entrepreneurially Thinking. Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, changing the way you view new ventures and activating your entrepreneurial mindset, empowering you to create new pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. I'm Christy Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore. I lead our STEM inclusion initiative here for the region for BioSTL. Hey, lady.
How are you doing?
I am okay. How are you?
I'm good. We've been busy this time of year. Well, we're always busy, but I know you've been really busy. So a reminder to all entrepreneurs out there to take care of yourself.
Yes.
Because you're like the third entrepreneur in 3 days who's I've looked at and been like, you need to go take a nap.
I was telling Christy, I said the last 2 days I have been flat on my back, sleeping for like 11 hours a day. And I don't have a cough. I don't have sneezing or anything like that. I think my body just said, hey,
enough.
Stop.
Enough. So yeah. our public service announcement for all of our entrepreneurs listening.
Take care of yourself.
Is take care of yourself.
Yes.
And then when you're feeling better, download the most recent episode, share it with your friends.
Right.
Make sure that you follow the hashtags ETHINKSTL, Ethink Podcast, stay listening. Find us on iTunes, Spreaker, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you find your favorite podcast.
That's right.
And make sure you check out our website and the website of our founding sponsors, CET and BioSTL. We have to thank them for their continued support and make sure that you guys are connected to what they're doing because there's great stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So what great stuff do we have going on today?
Well, the evolution of beer, which is something I didn't even know about. So this is going to be a very, very cool segment.
People were drinking beer before it was safe to drink water. Come on now. I've watched the dark ages where you needed to get yourself a beer so you didn't die from whatever was in the water supply.
So it has. The evolution of beer has impacted the world, as you say, and connected. Now, that's really true, and connected so many people organically. How many people will say, let's go grab a beer and talk?
Yeah.
Of course. Craft beer has continued growing in many ways, and that growth continues to carry on as more independent brewers and craft artists launch. Two local brothers, as well as African-American brothers, wanted a way to connect human beings to beer they will remember through a number of ways that they won't forget.
Yeah, create all sorts of experiences so you can't forget the wonderful beer that you had.
And so began a concept that allows the opportunity to navigate through the world of craft beers. I am really excited to hear more about this. A shop with general access to a little bit of everything craft with the freedom of not having to commit to any one product. It's cool. We're going to learn why passion and a desire to offer more was a motivator and what? Stay listening.
CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know all about the great things they are up to. Square One is CET's flagship program for entrepreneurs. It's a hands-on training program designed to provide support to first-time entrepreneurs in the St. Louis region actively engaged in the development of bioscience, information technology, or advanced manufacturing commercial enterprise. To learn more about Square One Bootcamp or Square One Ignite, visit CETSTL.com. And for your renewed and continuing support, CET, we say thank you.
I'm Justin from the St. Louis Hop Shop, and being an entrepreneur to me means following your dreams and not giving up. Just keep going for it.
Joining us today are Justin Harris and Ryan Griffin, co-owners of St. Louis Hop Shop, located on Cherokee Street on St. Louis's south side. They opened in 2015, realizing that St. Louis was in desperate need of a way for people to not only purchase one-of-a-kind craft beers, but also learn about craft beers and the amazing evolution that keeps on taking the world by storm. So we are really excited to have you here today. We want to learn more about why you chose this way into what is a $30 million industry where St. Louis has like more than 50 craft breweries and how the Hop Shop serves to make that all happen. So I don't know, if you listened to this part of our podcast before, but Cheryl likes to start at the beginning. So she wants to know where you're from and
Tell us
how
a
you
story.
got to where you are.
Tell us about your family.
One of you, Justin or Ryan, jump in and
All right.
let us know what we need to know.
So I'm from St. Louis. We're both from St. Louis, born and raised. We're from North St. Louis, and we went to school. We went to school Lindbergh.
Yeah.
So we went to school out in South County. So it kind of gave us a broad scope of the city. We kind of got to see a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
From there, I went to college.
What school?
Missouri Western. Okay. I had to think about that for a second. Missouri Western is up in St. Joe, Missouri, just about an hour north of Kansas City. And from there, I moved to Memphis, and I lived in Memphis for nearly 5 years, 4.5 years. And when I lived in Memphis, I worked in retail. I worked for Whole Foods, and then I did freelance.
I call it whole paycheck, but go ahead.
And I did like freelance landscaping as well, like on the side while I was down there.
Wow.
And then you came back home.
Yes. So I came back home. So Ryan and I actually brothers by marriage. So when I came back to work at my family business. We have a small engine repair shop in Jennings, and honestly, that was my first job. I'm a small engine technician by trade. So I came back to work there, and coming back, just looking at different opportunities.
Saying how you wanted to impact, do something different, right?
Exactly. This was one of the things that I had kind of had on my mind, just like very briefly, speaking about the Hop Shop, and things kind of fell in place where opportunity revealed itself for us to be able to do.
Opportunity meets opportunity.
And
right?
preparedness.
Yes.
Yes, an opportunity.
So Ryan, were you hanging out here in St. Louis, or did you also go away and come back?
Yeah, so I graduated from Lindbergh High School in 2007, and then I went away to Northwest Missouri State University, just up in Maryville, Missouri. So it's funny, we weren't even that far away from each other in college. So, I mean, I had came to visit him maybe a couple of times, on my way back home to visit and bum ride. So, it was, even though it's a little bit further away up there, but I went to school, graduated in 2011, and I came back to St. Louis. I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I started off in the management training program. So I was a management trainee. I worked my way up to assistant manager, to branch manager.
Oh, wow.
And then I was a branch manager for about a year or so. And over that period of time, it's just, we've always been close, but we were spending a lot of time together. And it kind of is an idea that he had kind of brought to me. And I think him working at Whole Foods, that it introduced him to a whole, I think they were kind of looking back at it, living here in the city and then looking at when, Memphis, as far as the Whole Foods he was at, they had craft a little earlier. We had more here, but I think as far as the brands, I feel like people were, we just had discussed the idea, and we would be hanging out at my place downtown. And like you said, it just came from an idea that we kind of
So beer, you all just chose beer as the opportunity.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think just like you said, beer connects people.
Yes.
And we definitely saw it as being a way to not only do something that has a huge, influence in St. Louis. Beer is involved in so many different aspects of the community here. Right, correct.
Right.
And with the craft being such, the explosion where it was a lot of stuff here locally that was kind of pick it up. I think we just recognize St. Louis as a great beer town, and beer does serve a purpose here. And, it brings people together, it unifies people, it helps spread diversity, it introduces so many different people, and we've just been happy to be a part of that. So
That's awesome. So you looked at the landscape and you didn't go into the brewing side. So where you saw a gap, right? So we talk a lot with our listeners about seeing where the opportunity lies. And what'd you see?
So I've always been a fan of beer, college, really.
You started to become a connoisseur.
I was going to say, really not high school, because there's a whole
if you're not
bunch of high
familiar with
schoolers
St.
doing
Joe,
that.
I'm just gonna say, not a lot to do, right?
It's not a lot.
Not a lot to do. Home of the Pony Express.
It is a home
but
of
that
the
was
Pony
a long time ago.
They still rap it hard, though.
When you got it, you gotta rep it hard. So you started in college.
I started getting different beer in college, and up there, naturally, it was, you had your basics like Sam Adams, you had a little bit of Schlafly, you would see every once in a while, but it was predominantly Boulevard. You see a lot of Boulevard. And moving to Memphis, it's a whole different distribution network. So I seen a lot of beers that were from the Southeast, and from just the South in general. You had a couple of Mississippi breweries, some breweries out of Georgia, some breweries out of the Carolinas. So I got introduced to all these different things, and the Whole Foods that I worked at was honestly kind of, I feel like, I don't know if a lot of people was doing it, but they had it where you can mix and match. You can like make your own six pack. And so through that, I was able to try like so much more beer just because I can get one at a time and check it out. And when I came back to St. Louis, what caught me was that when I left, it was pretty much Anheuser-Busch and Schlafly. And then when I come back, we were at that point in time, I want to say like 35 plus breweries in the in the area, the region, metropolitan area. There were no places that were just completely beer centric. You had places that had really good selections, for sure. But with a city where you have almost a brewery in each neighborhood, it kind of blew my mind. There were no places that were completely beer centric. And that was the beginning of the idea. That's honestly like where the concept came from, is just to be able to bring all of these different handmade,
all
crafted,
these crafts.
Yeah, this is really like, it's a science, it's a crafted art, really, to be able to bring all of this in one place and be able to have it to where people can come in and enjoy. And one of the huge things for us was like, we wanted it to be in the city. Growing up in North City, like, it's hard to find a decent like six pack. Like I mean, I can get like a Schlafly in my neighborhood.
Right.
I mean,
but you're certainly not mixing and matching.
No, definitely not. And with all the breweries at the time, majority of the breweries that were here were inside of the city limits. And so that was our thing. Like, you know, we wanted it to be very reflective of the city of St. Louis through not only the beer, but just through like the energy of the store overall. And because that was who we were.
Cool. So Ryan, what will I experience if I go to the Hop Shop? I'll confess I've actually been there.
Okay.
But many of our listeners haven't been there.
Okay.
So what do I see when I walk in the Hop Shop? It's not a brewery.
No, it's not. So our store is a little bit over 1,600 square feet. So we have kind of like three different parts and departments of the store. You have like the cold storage. We have 9 cooler doors of beer that you can come in and pick up at your convenience. We also have like the mix and match section, so you can come in and kind of build your own six pack. We have beers pretty much from the east to the west coast here, and then we also carry an import section. We have some handcrafted wines, spirits, a nice selection, like a wall, dedicated towards that. And then we also have a 10-foot wall full of just bombers from all kinds of.
What's a bomber?
So bombers are 750 milliliters or 22
they're the big
ounces.
Boys.
Yeah, they're the bigger bottles. So
okay.
You'll find more like the barrel-aged beers, stouts, sours, saisons, Belgians, in that size. So on top of that, we also have a bar with basically like 9 seats inside of the store that you can come in and have a beer. We have 6 taps on right now. Keep them rotating.
Wow.
We keep a lot of new stuff in. We definitely show out a lot of love to like local breweries, but we also have like some really neat, special releases that we get in from time to time. That we, like we had Perennial Sump on. Right now we have our collaboration beer that we did with Second Shift called I'm the Captain Now. It's a rum barrel aged version of Liquor Spiritual
I
Delight.
was wondering if the captain was the captain.
That's on right now. So, but we definitely have a large shopping section with whatever kind of beer you're looking for.
You guys are truly beer centric. I mean, you guys have this large, just sounds like, and you've been there. Now I got to take my husband there, who is a beer.
It's beautiful. I mean,
beer.
because like just the array of bottles is just so impressive.
That sounds phenomenal.
And I'm not by any means a connoisseur of anything really. Let's just be honest, right? But how did you go from enjoying your personal beer, right? Enjoying a good personal beer and knowing what your personal tastes were, to being able to curate what is essentially an international array of beers and help somebody like me walk in and go, okay, I don't think, like when I drink this beer, this is the thing I like about it or don't like about it. So did you have to go special training or was it really just a regimen that you put yourselves through? Like, damn it, we're going to drink and we're going to drink like professionals.
It was a combination of both. Like we definitely have both done a lot of research in beers, and I think the approach for us was not to make it too pretentious, not to make it too over the top. Majority of the people that come into the store just want a 6-pack or something, or they want to try something new, and they know what they don't like. And so we just look for certain things, and from there, then we can point out like, hey, you may like this beer because it's a little bit more floral. Like if you like hops but you don't like it bitter, this one is a little bit more floral.
So you guys are customer oriented. You're just not letting the person walk in and grab something and go. You're really trying to find out what their interest is, what their taste is. That's
Correct.
really very, very cool.
Absolutely.
When you look around in the city, because I don't know this space. I mean, there are a lot of people who are developing stores like what you have, or are you guys pretty?
It's a few, but not really. It's not a huge. It was really new. Like when we started on the actual business plan, there was just no place like it.
So what did you say? You started a what?
The business plan.
A business plan. Right. You didn't just jump out here and do this, right?
We also just like to remind our listeners that these things don't happen by magic. It's not like one day I was drinking a beer, next day I opened up in a successful shop. Everything else in the middle is just a little blurry.
Not at all. There's a lot
We like the B plan.
Right. When you thought through your business plan, what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome?
I think some are just simple, as far as like location wise, we wanted to be a huge part of like why we wanted to be accessible to all neighborhoods or people that are from, traveling in from out of town, or if people are just like, driving through from one side of town to the other, that's a huge part. And the South St. Louis didn't have a lot of that particular, as far as like beer, you didn't have a lot of places that you can go in and get like cold beer. And then we also wanted to be in a neighborhood that was pretty much like up and coming as far as like developing. We wanted to help grow a neighborhood and add
That's
something.
really
We didn't
cool.
want to step into a neighborhood that was already established.
Yeah.
We wanted to be somewhere where we could have an impact and actually.
So you were thoughtful about where you guys were going to set up shop, and
Correct.
That's really impactful.
Correct. And we wanted to not separate ourselves, but we wanted to definitely put ourselves in a good situation to be able to meet different kinds of customers from all different backgrounds, and then also be a travel destination so people would like to actually come to the neighborhood that we're in and explore and find out more about what's going on around them.
Yeah.
And then not only that, we're less than like a mile from like the actual Anheuser-Busch, the official, space that's, has grown to be such a, big company and done so much for so many people. So it's one of those things as far as like being in that section, as far as like in craft beer, we wanted to be located in a space, where we weren't like in a crowded, super saturated.
Yeah.
We wanted to be able to be in somewhere that's dense in population. People could come in and we service, that neighborhood, but also people that are just traveling and around,
Okay.
So
very cool.
yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, just to kind of, like you said, challenges as far as like, I think that's one of the things we wanted to make sure that we definitely kind of
Picking
put ourselves
the site, right.
correct. But yeah, and then being in, like I said, a neighborhood that is actually, we got to be able to see so many different things growing with a neighborhood that was new businesses opening up around us and building those relationships with people and seeing those different, those struggles or those wins and being a part of that. And we just got a chance. We stepped into a position that has helped us grow as people and as businessmen.
That's very cool. That is very cool.
And I think another part would be creating an actual operation to do something opposed to just like having an idea. I felt like that was something that was definitely difficult just in a business process, because you can have all of these great ideas and to actually be able to translate those into a system that functions is a completely different thing.
So you do a lot of training with your staff. Do you have, how big is your staff?
So now we have 2 staff members, and we do a lot of training. We kind of cross train them throughout the whole store, from everything from working the register to breaking down events. Like I feel like it's important. Everybody will have their talents to where they stand out, but I feel like it's important for everybody to have a grasp of, at the very least, a simple grasp of what the next person is doing.
That's great.
That's awesome. When we come back, we're going to talk more about that and what it means for you guys to have grown as businessmen and business people, and more about the shop.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know about all the great things they are up to, including the BioSTL STEM Entrepreneur Inclusion Initiative, which strengthens the region's bioscience ecosystem by identifying high-potential, talented women and minority STEM entrepreneurs and providing a systematic pathway for them to create viable, high-growth ventures. You can learn more about all of BioSTL's programs by visiting biostl.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
My name is Ryan Griffin. I'm with the St. Louis Hop Shop. Being an entrepreneur means going hard night and day and not taking any days off.
One of the things I always tell the entrepreneurs I work with is that we have to find time to reflect. Like, we're so busy building our companies and figuring out all the things we didn't even know we'd have to figure out, that we don't have time to like sit back and reflect on what did we learn and things that didn't go the way we planned. It sounds like that you've talked about having grown as businessmen, as business people. So in that, when those little moments do come where you can reflect, what are some of the things where you feel you've grown the most?
Me personally is trying to be aware of the situation even prior to it happening. And
so like thinking through
foresight.
Yeah, and even if it's something where it's like it's not good, like me and him
this
had
is
a
not
conversation
good.
where
Well.
I'm like, okay, like we're gonna feel this like for another month or so,
right?
And you got to understand like those times are going to come, and you got to be. I feel like just the mental fortitude to be able to deal with those.
Absolutely.
I feel like it is, and that's. I feel like naturally that kind of bleeds out into your personal life as well, because it just becomes just like a way of thinking in a sense where even though it does have a reactionary portion of it, the majority of it is like, okay, we're gonna get through this. For me, that's been a huge part.
I think that's the entrepreneurial mindset, right? Is that, when you come up with problems, you're always thinking about, or even before the problems arise, you're always thinking through, okay, what's the next scenario, or how can I get through this next scenario? I think what's interesting is that you guys are brothers, and being leaders in your organization, how does that work out for you? Especially Justin, if Ryan says, well, let's go this way, and you're like, I don't think that's gonna work.
And then we have to go have a holiday dinner together.
How does that work?
Yeah, everything's great.
I mean, I think both of us have just our ways and thought patterns of how we do things. One thing that I think we both are very open to is listening to both sides very thoroughly of whatever it is, whatever decisions we make. But at the same time, we both have to listen to the pros and cons. If I have a problem with something, he has a problem with something, I have to listen. We both have to just, as far as like making those decisions, we have to really, really talk about those. But ultimately, I think we have a very good understanding of like how one another thinks. I think since we've been in business, I think we've definitely come to a space where we are very comfortable with how we kind of operate things, and as far as like certain things that he's very in tune with, or certain things that I just have taken responsibility for. That's just the things that I do.
Yep.
So I think we've definitely kind of identified those roles within our company way before. Those are things that you just kind of like naturally grow into, and you accept those as being part of like what your duties are. But I think even beyond that, as far as like translating that into our business, I think we just have a good, we mesh very well. We talk through things, we communicate well, and I think it's one
I think
of those.
that's the biggest thing for any business or any leaders in a business is being able to communicate. You might not agree, but how are we going to move forward together, and how you play that out speaks not only to your business but your maturity within your business, which is amazing. So I heard you guys do events.
Correct. Yeah.
So what kind of events do you host?
We like to have fun with the events, so naturally they're all pretty revolved around beer. We always have breweries into the store at least once a week, more often than not, like 2 times a week. We have a brewery into the store. We have a rotating series called Meet the Brewer, where we actually bring in like the head brewer from a brewery, and they'll like not only like taste what's on draft and tell you about the brewing process and how they made it and what was the idea behind it, but it's also a good time for people who are like up and coming brewers or home brewers to come in and speak with somebody that like does it professionally and like really get into it, because like
talk all shop all the time, right?
And so that's been something that's been really cool that we've been doing here recently. But outside of that, we really just like to have fun at the store. Like, it is a very communal space, and so while keeping it as retail oriented as possible, we still try to utilize it in that form.
How do you guys promote yourself? Because you're in a community. So how are you promoting so that you're attracting from all areas of the city? Like you say, when people travel into the city, you want them to stop by. What's that strategy?
a lot of it has to do with like digital marketing as well. Obviously, just using like the simple tools that everybody has at their fingertips.
Social media.
Social media is a huge part of it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But just also finding like other creative ways to continue to connect with people. We have a mailing list that we send out every week, so you always get an understanding of like what's going on in the store, what we're tasting, what we're sampling, what's new, what's on tap. And then we also are very, very active online, just with like Facebook or Twitter, just reaching out. You know, people contact us within half an hour, 15 minutes to half an hour. Like you're gonna get some type of know feedback. So do
you have a person that's dedicated to that, or is
I think
you
we
guys
might be looking at them?
Yeah.
But yeah, then we like have like Google and Facebook, like all the we have pretty. Like I said, I knock on wood. We have good ratings. You know, people have great feedback. If you ever written us a comment on Google, then you got a response, just a 5-star. Like, you know, like I'm very big on, and then also just like we're huge on like customer interaction, word of mouth. Like, you know, a lot of our business in our first couple of years definitely came organically, just people being, after coming in and experiencing the Hop Shop, like going out and telling their friends, like, hey, there's this cool, super nice place on say South St. Louis, you know, you can go check it out. And then people come in and be like, hey, you know, my friend told me about this, you know, this is like really cool. I love what you guys are doing. So, but yeah, like, you know, we do ads and stuff like that too.
That is really cool, because just by this conversation alone, I'll be bringing my husband, and I know you got wine there. So.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
So for us wine aficionados.
Well, and he was saying earlier that he actually has beers that appeal to the wine drinker.
Yes.
Yep.
So more importantly, you can stay squarely within the beer genre and satisfy your needs as well.
Crossover too, right?
Right. You can have your cake and eat it too. Because you know how we like to eat.
Oh, any place there's food or drink, we will be there.
So, are you ever tempted to do your own brewery thing?
Yeah.
No.
He's like, no, I've talked to the brewer. I don't want to do that.
That's not my area of expertise. I appreciate the skill. I really do enjoy. So we do a collaboration series where we actually go out and collaborate with breweries and, you know, do beers. And through that, I've actually gone in and brewed like was a part of the entire process. Yeah. From brewing to putting it into the barrels. And then I just kind of watched them on the can line. I took one off and like had one, but I didn't really.
Quality control. Excellent.
You like the end process, not the whole.
I'm not about the journey either. I am really about the destination.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's a really cool experience, but that's just not my area.
I was gonna say, you know your sweet spot. Yeah. You know where you want to be.
Ryan, though, are you know, like?
I mean, it's the same. I really do think like you know, I definitely have like ideas of like great beers that I think would, you know, would blow people's minds. But as far as like brewing, I think that us doing the collaboration beers that we do, it is a great way for us to not only turn like a local brewing project into something fun for us, but also very, very pleasurable to like the people that enjoy it and come out to the release. But I think that that's something that we definitely want to continue to expand upon. And I think the collaboration beers, as far as like the marketing and being able to work with like a brewery and really, you know, as far as like creatively market it to people, it's been like super, super cool. And we want to continue to do that.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So what are the plans? Is there another shop in the works? Is it?
Because we want to be the first to know, damn it.
You know.
It's a lot of plans. Not anything like concrete, but it's a lot more that we would like to do with the store.
What's your vision?
Our goal is to provide I don't want to limit it to
don't
city of St. Louis, but
what is your vision? What do you see?
The big one, the scary one, the one you don't know if you can do or not.
Yeah, don't give me words that you wrote down as a mission plan, okay?
Oh, she's getting serious now.
I like that. I would like to have a lot of beautifully curated craft beer stores across the country or across the world.
That is awesome. And you speak it into existence, it will happen.
That is true. I do have one question before we remind people where they can find you and wrap up is, as Black business owners in craft beer, when I think craft beer, I usually think a white pasty guy who hasn't seen the light of day, who's got a beard that may or may not be groomed.
Right.
I have my stereotype, right? And it's been confirmed from some firsthand experience of, I didn't just make it up, right? So what has your experience been as business owners within this space that is usually white dudes?
Right.
We've had great,
it's been awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, like the particular industry that we're in, these people may have like a background in science or this and that, but like they brew and drink beer all day. It's like, it's good people.
They're chill.
Yeah, we've like really fortunate enough to just be in the industry to work with really, really cool people, and a lot of people seem very like-minded from when we're here in St. Louis, even to like we were out in LA last year, and the amount of like love that we got from breweries that never met us before. Like,
just love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Love that you're creating this space. Love that you're introducing
Exactly.
people like to the work and the craft.
yeah.
That's awesome.
I was going to say, are there other folks like you guys, not on the brewery side, but doing what you do in the space that are African American?
That's a good question.
I'm not. I mean, I don't think that. Not in St. Louis. I'm quite sure somewhere.
Because it's so funny. There's always a national organization of black somebodies doing something, and I'm like,
Now, there are black brewers. There are people as far as like the brewing side. There are black breweries, but as far as like bottle shop,
So that's another growth expansion is, if there's a national association of black bottle shop owners, like we could start the first
There you
chapter
go.
here.
Shout out.
We'll be top of the list. Come talk to us. We'll get everything started off.
Well, and I ask because sometimes when you don't see yourself reflected in the ownership in the industry you want to be in, you figure, well, maybe it's not for me, right? Like maybe this is just not where I'm supposed to grow and thrive. And the fact that you were like, it's about finding like-minded people. It's about creating a space where we have very purposefully made it so that folks from all walks of life will walk through our shop because they are connected by the product that we're serving. And then they'll get to see folks that they don't anticipate having an encyclopedic knowledge of German hops. I think I've now expanded. That was like all my beer knowledge right there. Hops, German, done.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
And just what I like about it is you went into this industry not thinking I don't belong. This is a vision. This was something you really wanted to do, and you didn't let any of that stuff stop you. You just went forward and said, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it.
Correct. Yeah. To be honest, I genuinely did not even think about it. I mean, aside from just like the obvious, but
and I think that's what more people need to hear, because sometimes that stops folks from going into something by saying, there's nobody else that looks like me in this, so why do I think I could be successful? And what you did was just like, I'm not even thinking about that. It didn't even come to mind. I'm going to be successful. And when you start having these shops across the country, make sure Chicago's the second place that you open, because I'm from Chicago.
She's not even going to say in the future, just number 2.
Number 2. Like I said, you speak.
You can help them with the real estate costs? That's what I want to know.
They are already successful here. So this is what year is this? Number 4?
It'll be 4 in May.
Okay.
4 in May.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow. Well,
Cool.
Congratulations, guys.
Well, do you have a parting thought for our listeners who are like, hey, I could do that too?
Stay at it.
There you go.
Yeah, stay at it.
Yeah, I'd definitely say, like, it's very cliche, but anything you can think, you can make come true. So you're still very, very indebted. Like we work night and day, so it's, it doesn't stop being an entrepreneur. But at the same time, I think that a lot more people, if they were to just be confident enough to put it down and they can really go through it, you can break it down into the science. And I think that you can, there's an opportunity there.
Absolutely.
Write your idea down, get it down on paper, and just keep doing it.
A business plan.
All right. You heard it from them with lots of reinforcement from us.
Yes.
So where can folks find you? If they're in St. Louis, where should they go? Where's your storefront?
So we are at the intersection of Cherokee and Jefferson, right on the southwest corner in South City.
You can't miss that.
Really can't. Right across the street from the Indian, right on Cherokee Street.
Yeah.
Awesome. And if they want to find you online?
StLouisHopShop.com, spelled out SaintLouishop.com.
And Ryan will get back to you if you send it.
Please message him. He's looking for the opportunity.
Yes, he will.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
guys.
taking time away from running your shop to talk about it and to share your experiences with us.
Thank you. We appreciate
you.
it. Thank you for having us for sure.
changing the way you view new ventures, unlocking your creativity and innovation, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit entrepreneuriallythinking.com to listen to all your favorite episodes and learn more about our guests, hosts, and sponsors. Feeling inspired? Be sure to share your thoughts, questions, and stories in the comments section. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. The best way to show love is to share and subscribe. Let everybody know that you're entrepreneurially thinking.